Hey there, I'm Tucker, this is D&D Daily, and today we're going to be talking about the possum. If you want to play the possum, first you're going to need to be an Undying Warlock. Second, you're going to need to be a Githyanki. And third, you're going to need to take the Lorehold Student background. Possum, like all good Githyanki, are loyal to the Lich Queen Vlaakith, and the possum especially admired her. He was even in training to be one of her personal guards. He wanted to be like her in everything that he does. When he finally had the chance to meet her, she told him that in order to become like her, he would need to always survive and find a way that he could survive to complete his objectives. But unlike his queen, the possum can't make a phylactery to store his soul in, so he had to find another way. So now, as he fights and tries to complete his objectives, his first priority is on survival. He still tries to carry out his mission, and any mission his queen gives him, his main priority is surviving. His ultimate goal is to become completely like his patron, the Lich Queen Vlaakith, even going as far to learn how to make a phylactery and become a lich himself. The possum is calculating. When the going gets tough, he gets going. He doesn't, and I don't mean that as in he fights, I mean he runs away. He plays it smart and always tries to live to fight another day. The possum is cautious, and he is slow to jump into things that might be dangerous. He is going to be very prepared and very investigative before anything starts and trying to avoid combat and those kind of things a lot of the time. However, when it does arise, he is quick to jump in, but as soon as things get rough, he is going to try and look for a way out. In combat, a rapier will be your main weapon. This is going to be your main source of damage, and you're going to be up in melee range. The reason we're going to want to be in melee range is so that we can get the most use out of our Spirit Guardian spell. This spell we learn from our Lorehold background, and we get it at 5th level when we can cast the 3rd level spells. While having a rapier from our Pact of the Blade and having Spirit Guardians from our Lorehold background, we can actually put out pretty good damage for being in melee range to keep up with other martial classes, and even surpass them somewhat. And because of our Defy Death feature, which we get from being an Undying Warlock, we can be a lot more risky at the start of a fight. This is because succeeding one death save allows us to get picked back up. We heal for a d8 plus our con modifier and HP, so even after we're down, we get to get right back up. However, once we are revived, we have a crucial decision to make. Do we fight on, or do we live to fight another day? If our party is about to win, we're definitely going to join the fight and try and help out if we can. However, if it's looking like our party might lose, we're again faced with another decision, which is, do we run away, which we would just get up and just run, just book it? Or we can go with the most OP strat yet to hit D&D, the possum. If you're confused by what the possum strat is, it is simply once you get back up after you're down, you look around. If you're going to lose, you cast Feign Death on yourself. Once you cast this spell on yourself, then you just have to lay there and hope you survive. The cool thing about this spell, Feign Death, is that you are indistinguishable from a dead body. So even from magic sensors, they think you're dead. So almost all enemies will just think you're dead. This will be good unless you're fighting something that, for example, wants to eat you. If you're going up against a T-Rex that just wants a snack, then you don't want to do this strategy because it will eat you whether you're dead or not. The other thing is if you are playing something that wants to, for say, capture you or is going to make sure you're dead and stab all the corpses, then those are going to be less opportune times to use the possum strat. And those are the situations where you would get up and run away. In our opinion, the possum strat is a big brain play and should be considered every time. You should never pass it up just because it's kind of lame. It is a good strategy, and we think it fits this character perfectly. Out of combat, the possum could be the offhand face of the party. His charisma isn't terrible, but it's not the best, so he probably wouldn't be the person first to go into a social situation, but he wouldn't be the last. He will also be a pretty decent thief, as his stealth and sleight of hand will be pretty good. The possum would always be planning and overly cautious, always thinking of how to accomplish his objective with the highest probability of survival and success. In the possum's downtime, he will be chasing after the knowledge of how to make a phylactery and how to become a lich. That is his main goal, and that's what he's going to do. Secondly, he's going to be studying magical secrets, trying to learn more about Arcana in order to advance him becoming a lich. And he is always going to be planning for upcoming encounters. I always think of this like a red dragon. In the red dragon lore, they are always planning of, if this situation happens, this is how I'll respond. So they think, if I'm ambushed by 2 druids and a wizard, this is how I'll respond. And I think that's exactly what the possum would do as well. He would be considering those options and always considering what is the best way for him to live to fight another day. The key mechanics of the possum is that Dex is going to be your main stat with definitely at least a 14. Next is going to be Constitution, and third is going to be Charisma. And I know I can hear all of you out there saying, why not do Charisma first and just being a Hexblade? But that's because we don't want to. We want to be an Undying, so shut up. The next key mechanic is for Defy Death. We want to make sure to only use our Defy Death trait to pick ourselves up in combat. It might seem a little selfish, but we don't want to pick up our teammates because we want to save it for that possum strat. We also always want to save a spell slot for the possum strat, so always keep that in mind. From our Lorehold Initiate feat, Shield is looking like the best option that I could think of a spell to take that you can cast once a day. Because we're going to be in melee combat, Shield is just going to be awesome. Being a Githyanki also gives us our Psionics, which lets us use Mage Hand and cast Jump and Misty Step once per day, adding to our mobility quite a bit. And potential invocations to take could be Cloak of Flies to make you seem more like, a walking corpse, so then the possum strat makes more sense. Devil's Sight is going to be good if you're going to use the Darkness combo. Eldritch Smite is going to be good to do that extra damage with your weapon. Fiendish Vigor will give you a little bit more HP. Improved Pact Weapon and Thirsting Blade will both be good for just getting in more attacks. The weaknesses of the possum is that he's going to be very cautious. This might lead him to ignore or bypass several great opportunities because he sees them as too risky. This is going to be more of a role-playing challenge, but I think it is something you could go with, and I don't think it's necessarily a weakness, but more just something you have to work with. Also, his wisdom saves are going to be particularly bad, and they're going to be pretty debilitating for him and for the rest of his party, so that is something to keep in mind. As an NPC, my favorite way to use the possum is as a reoccurring combat encounter. The party will fight him, beat him probably, and then a couple sessions later he comes back again with a better plan on how to kill them. So he is going to keep coming back because he'll probably just keep casting Feign Death so the party thinks they win, but in reality he's just surviving for another day. I think the key note to hit with the possum is that survive for another day mentality. He is always going to be focused on living to fight again. How would you use the possum in one of your games? What would you do to make him better or improve on that amazing possum strat? Let us know in the comments below. We are D&D Daily, and we are releasing new videos and new D&D content every day. So make sure to hit the subscribe button because you don't want to miss any of our next videos.